Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. Now, not many worlds are quite as crazy as my world. Welcome to the chaos that is my life. Every time I plan a live stream, something goes wrong, all hell lets loose, dogs escape, or people, Amazon delivery drivers arrive, or bangers start going off, don't they? Well, honestly, and I've considered many times I need to stop doing lives, but I like doing lives, and I know for some unknown reason, you lovely lot, you all like watching me on live. So I don't know what I'm going to do. Maybe one day I'll get into some sort of routine. Just always get sidetracked by other things, life things, taking number one son, sorting out the dogs, going shopping, I had to do some shopping, getting petrol. And I always underestimate how long all these things are going to take me. And in between trying to eat something and have a bit of a life. Once again, I haven't had any breakfast. And anyway, it doesn't matter. I don't mind. I could do with losing some weight. So there you go. Don't mind about missing breakfast. Oh, see, there you go. As soon as I've started, here's a message coming through. And I have to check my messages because, for those of you who know, in my other life, I am a Spanish teacher, and it may always be to do with work, which obviously is my bread and butter. So, been very quiet during January, Christmas, January. Anyway, it'll get busier. That's the way the cookie crumbles. Oh, I could just eat a cookie. And I forgot to make a cup of tea before I started. So I haven't got a cup of tea or anything. Anyway, I might make a cup of tea in a minute. I don't know. It's not going to be a really long stream because I am absolutely starving. I'm starving because I haven't eaten anything yet. So I've got some nice noodles that I'm going to have for lunch. And yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. So first of all, I just want to say thank you to all of you for putting up with me, being patient with sometimes when my streams go wrong, saying nice things, leaving nice comments. Now, one live stream I will be doing always is the members live stream. A special thank you, of course, as always, to my members. Thank you for those of you who bought me Ko-fis for my computer fund or PayPal'd me, or some of you have contributed in other ways. Thank you so much because that means a lot. I still haven't even sorted out the screen. I wanted to get the screen set up with the laptop so I'd have a bigger screen. I literally hardly ever get any time, and when I do get a little bit of time, I mean, I'm not whinging, I wouldn't want my life to be boring. One thing you can certainly say is my life's not boring. Um, I haven't even had time to just because I need time to sit down and do that because it's not something that I'll do just easily. Set up my computer screen with my laptop so I've got a bigger screen, but I will do that anyway. But thank you, just thank you for everything. So yeah, special thank you to people who send me emails and make suggestions about cases, and that's this case that I'm going to talk about today. This is somebody told me about this, and I didn't know anything about it, even though it's quite a famous event, if you like. Is it a crime? I don't know if you could call it a crime because it was never proven to be a crime. But it's right in Manchester, in my neck of the woods where I come from. And it's quite famous, as a case. But it is 200 years old. Anyway, what struck me, hello, darling, this big dog, honestly, Princess T, you'd think butter won't melt in her mouth, but she is. When it comes to my dogs, she is. She hates them with a vengeance. Anyway, so 200 years ago, and it struck me, I thought, God, This is almost like a Nicola Bulley case from 200 years ago. It caused a big stir. Obviously, nowadays, cases cause a stir all over the world, don't they? With the media, social media, internet, etc. I presume this case would have caused a stir locally at the time, and then maybe spread throughout the country, because when you think about it, Jack the Ripper, there are famous cases in history that, despite the lack of social media at the time, they still managed to permeate into the nation's consciousness, and even become famous all over the world, didn't they? Cases like the Jack the Ripper case, for example. And they used to have everything was on paper then. They used to issue these, I think they were penny dreadfuls, they were called, was it? They were like little, I don't know, little magazines, I suppose you'd say, or that would tell people about the terrible things that were happening in London with with Jack the Ripper, etc. And then, of course, as time went on and we got the telly and stuff, things would spread on the telly or the radio. Cases like the Yorkshire Ripper and those sort of cases spread that way, didn't they? And then, boom, the internet comes. It's a game changer, isn't it? We learn about cases that happen right over the other side of the world, and we're sort of, shocked by them, and we talk about them. It's interesting, isn't it? So this particular case, the case of the Manchester Ophelia, they call her. Now, as I say, I'd never even heard of it. So I'm very grateful to that chatter who sent me that information or made that. And then I Googled it and looked it up, and I was like, oh my God, this is a real mystery from years ago, not unlike the Nicola Bulley mystery, because nobody really knows exactly what happened to the Manchester Ophelia. So that's what we're going to talk about. And the Manchester Ophelia, if you don't know, is a character from Shakespeare, from a Shakespeare play. And she did take her own life in the river, which I'm not saying that Nicola did that, and I'm not saying that this lady did it either. But it's never been proven really properly one way or another. She was found frozen under the River Irwell near Manchester. We're going to look at the location in a moment. And did she do it herself? Or was it her boyfriend, who she was, her fiancé, I think he was, who she was seen arguing with the day before? Nobody knows, of course. No CCTV then, was there, etc. Anyway, so before I get started properly, I just want to say thank you for watching. Thank you to my lovely lurkers. Thank you to Replay Crew for watching. I hope you find this story interesting, as I did. But I think it's interesting to see that these kind of things, people, disappearing in rivers, or wind disappearing and then being found weeks later, it's not like a phenomenon, I can never say that word, that's only applies to now. It's happened for years. And the problem is, when someone goes off near the water, unless you have got actual video of them going into the water, putting themselves in the water, you'll never know exactly whether they were pushed into the water, or especially in this 200 years ago, when you didn't have the forensics and things like that either. Was she put in the river after she was deceased? Could they even tell then if somebody had died through foul play? Or, would they not have known, who was someone holding her down? As Jason Rothwell says, Nicola was held down in the water. Now, I am going to do a video when I get a chance, but I am definitely going to do it because I've read out what Jason Rothwell said in his blogs about the Nicola Bulley case. But I am going to pick out all what I think are the salient points and put them in one video, like an abbreviated version. Just key points, that I think are key points. You might find there are other key points, but the things he said were interesting. Now, we don't know if what Jason said is true or not. Only Jason and his God know that. But it's interesting to talk about. It was interesting to get his side of things, wasn't it? Directly from him. And then we just have to decide whether we believe it or not. So let me just have a look who's in the chat. I'm sorry I was late. As I say, I don't think my life is conducive sometimes to live streams. I hope you're still here. Hi, Lily. Hi, Angel. Hi, Dottie. Yeah, I don't know if you're all still there. Oh, yeah, Lily's still there anyway. Thank you. Oh, I'm so sorry. I hate making, arranging a stream and then not being able to start on time. Or then some calamity happens. I suppose that's the thing about live streaming, isn't it? And sometimes that's what people like, the unpredictability of it, especially in my house. It's chaos. It's chaos. Anyway, I'm hoping that as long as we don't have any bangers going off, should go okay. Should be quiet. The big dog's down here. She's, whimpering as usual. She's so much for attention, that dog. Oh gosh. Anyway, so let's get started. Let's get started about this case. So this lady, let me just show you there was like a mock-up of her. I think this might be actually Ophelia. I think that must be a picture of Ophelia. So Ophelia was the woman in the Shakespeare play. It was Hamlet, was it? Was it Hamlet? That Ophelia took herself over to the river and decided to take herself away from this world. And this woman that we're going to talk about, she has been called the Manchester Ophelia because she was found literally frozen under the ice. And this happened in the UK, as I say, 200 years ago. And it happened in the River Irwell. Now, I'm going to show you the River Irwell. Now, interestingly enough, for those of you who are in the north of the UK, you'll know the River Irwell. Let's see. Where is it? No. I looked up the where the hell is it? That's the other thing that happens. I can never find anything that I've got prepared. River Irwell. I have got it there prepared. Hang on. Now, yeah, what I've walked alongside the River Irwell many times. It's quite a long river. Near where my family live, in sort of Bury area in Manchester. And one thing that did strike me about the river, that's not the one, where is it? Oh, there it is. It's very fast running, I think. If you look at it in comparison to the River Wyre, where Nicola went missing. No, that's not the one. I remember walking along there and thinking, oh my God, it is so fast moving. So I'm trying to get up the Google Maps about it. But anyway, there. So you should be able to see that. Let me just. So this is where it runs along here. Any of you who are from the north of the UK or know the north of the UK, Lancashire, not far from where Nicola did go missing. Blackburn, Hebden Bridge. We've covered quite a few cases from this area. Burnley, so Hebden Bridge, I think we've covered a case from there. Preston, of course, that's where the court, where the inquest was held for Nicola. Nicola went missing from St Michael's on Wyre. But it's not that far away. Yeah, in Lancashire. So we've got Manchester here. That's the big city, of course. And then these places like Bury, Bacup, where the river runs through, are not that far away from Manchester. So as I say, what I did notice when I was walking along, let me just refresh that, get the river back up. When I was walking along the side of this river, it's very fast moving. I mean, it was moving really fast. I certainly, I don't know if it always moves fast or if it's just when I've walked by there, maybe the current's been strong. But, you wouldn't fancy going wild swimming in it. I mean, it looked really dangerous. So, yeah. So anyway, you can see that's the geographical area of where it is, where it runs. Let me read what Wikipedia have to say about it. Yeah, maybe not. Where's the Wikipedia gone? Oh, there it is, about. So the River Irwell is a tributary of the River Mersey in northwest England. It rises at Irwell Springs on Deerplay Moor, approximately 1.5 miles north of Bacup, and flows southwards for 39 miles to meet the Mersey near Earlham Locks. So, yeah, it's used apparently, according to Wikipedia. Let's have a look. It's used for recreational activities, such as, where's that gone now? Where's that gone? It started telling us what it was used for, and then I can't find it. Anyway, we don't have to go into all the details of the river, but it's a long river. It's a well-known river, especially in the north. And yeah, one year it froze over. And that was the year that this poor woman went missing and was found frozen under the ice 200 years ago. So it's literally, this year is the anniversary. So I'm going to read you, let me just show you this picture. So these are some of the, that's, well, it won't be a photo, will it? That was like a drawing of how it looked. It floods quite often, when it bursts its banks, or, so it's a long river. And it's a fast-moving river. But one year, 200 years ago, it actually froze over. And that's where this poor lady was found all those years ago, in that river after she'd disappeared. So what happened to her? So some people think that she did take her own life. And that's, we're going to read what this lady says about her. Naomi Clifford, who's a non-fiction and fiction author. And this, it happened in 1814, the death of Lavinia Robinson, the Manchester Ophelia. It's quite sort of creepy, isn't it, really? Because you think, in the future, are they going to be saying, no river picture, I'm frozen. It's this bloody computer. Sorry. Can you hear me okay? Can you actually hear me? Now. Hang on, let's put it to the stage. Oh, there you go. You should be able to see that now. You should. So, did you not see the map either of the where the River Irwell is? Hey, Angel. Take it you didn't see the map of where the River Irwell is either, or did you? Oh my God. I've got, this computer is just impossible to work with. Anyway, maybe I should have done a video rather than, done a premiere rather than a live. It's very difficult to do lives at the moment. Apart from all the chaos, apart from all that, then you've got the crap laptop as well to deal with. But anyway, never mind. We've just got, it is what it is. Just got to work until I can get a new one. We've got to work with it one way or another. So let me just see. Did you see the geography? You can see and hear me now, yeah. But did you actually? So didn't see where. Let me just show people, because some people will know where but some people won't. So here's. You should be able to see this. Please, God, can you see it? Yeah, you can see it. You can see it. So this is the River Irwell in Manchester, but it goes further than that. It covers quite a lot of the north of Lancashire. And as I say, what just struck me when I've been walking alongside it nearby, so you can see you've got Blackpool over here, Preston, Blackburn, and the River Irwell sort of runs right through it all. Now, over on the right-hand side, and I just want to reiterate, what did strike me is it's a fast-moving river. But as I said earlier, 1 year, 200 years ago, it froze over. So let's get back to the story of Lavinia, the Manchester Ophelia. And, I had this sort of chilling thought, really. It makes you wonder if in 200 years, because do you know what? I think people don't change, or people that are interested in true crime. I don't think that's a modern phenomenon. I think people have always been interested in true crime. It's just different now because you've got the social media, etc. As I said years ago, everyone was interested in the Jack the Ripper case, and there were other cases that were famous. Just, they wouldn't have obviously spread so quickly around the globe like they do now. I mean, literally, there's a crime one day and the next day it's all over the internet, all over the world. It wouldn't have been as quick as that, of course, years ago. It would have taken longer. But it still was happening because, human nature, human beings are curious, and also they're intrigued by crime, murder, etc. I don't know why. I've given up thinking why, because I've questioned. I mean, I think part of the reason I'm sort of intrigued with it is because of experiences I had years ago with being stalked, and that does sort of set you off noticing things of people who aren't so lucky to escape with their lives after stalking or coercive control. Does make you more heightened to it. But I think even not everybody who's interested in true crime has had bad experiences themselves. It's like a human condition or a human thing to be intrigued. Is it like a protection thing? Like you're intrigued with things that happen. Are you trying to protect yourself? Or are you just like, I don't know what it is. It's like, if you drive past a road accident and you can't help but look, even though, you're not going to see anything nice. And once you've seen something, you can't unsee it, can you? Um, what is it? Do we have this macabre curiosity? And we do, and lots of us do. Not just me, not just you, not even a small percentage of the world's population. This is a human thing. Of course, some people aren't interested in true crime, but lots of people are intrigued, aren't they, for whatever reason? Oh, dear me. More messages. Okay, nobody ever messages me when I'm not on a live. Anyway, so let's read this story. So Naomi Clifford wrote this on the 16th, or published it on the 16th of March 2017. Surviving sexual assault was sometimes described as a fate worse than death, as it inevitably provoked questions about whether the victim had complied with the perpetrator in some way. Indeed, the only good victim was a dead victim. And even then, as the death of Mary Ashford showed, it was never impossible to denigrate her. I don't know who Mary Ashford. I'm going to have to look into that as well. Yeah, because domestic violence, gender violence. It's always been there. In fact, it's better now than it used to be. Sometimes we think it's worse now, but it's not. It's just that we get to know about it now. Years ago, domestic violence, nobody would have known or spoke out. Nobody would have listened to people anyway. So the story of Lavinia Robinson in 1814 is not one of murder. Now, she says it's not one of murder, but it pointed up the position of women whose reputation was impugned, facing social humiliation, the possibility that she would forever be seen as damaged goods, not to mention the loss of her relationship with her fiancé. She was overwhelmed with despair and saw no way forward. Yeah, this is a painting of Ophelia by John Everett Millais, painted in 1851. It's in the Tate Gallery. So yeah, going back, going back to Shakespeare's times, women and men, but as we're talking about women in this video, have always, if they've wanted to remove themselves or shuffle off this mortal coil, they've always used water to do it. So the body of 20-year-old Lavinia Robinson was found in the River Irwell on the 7th of February 1814, over 7 weeks after she went missing from her home in Manchester. 7 weeks. Had she done away with herself? Or, as some suspected, was she pushed into the water? And what was the nature of the furious argument she had had with her fiancé on the night before she disappeared? After her parents' premature deaths, only a few years before her own, Lavinia Robinson and her 5 sisters supported themselves and their 3 teenage brothers, bloody hell, 8 of them, by converting their home into a seminary. Their resourcefulness enabled them to keep within the circle of acquaintance they enjoyed during their father's life and protect the younger branches of the family. Lavinia was described as a young lady possessing superior mental accomplishments, with a person lovely as her mind and of the most fascinating manners, whose compositions in prose and in verse breathe throughout the purest sentiments of religion and virtue, and prove her to have had a warm and affectionate heart, great vivacity, and an uncommon playfulness of disposition. A paragon, in other words. paragon of virtue. That's an old-fashioned expression, isn't it? So I think her boyfriend, her fiancé, John Holroyd, worked as an accoucheur, whatever that is, at the Lying In Hospital, seen on the left. This is from Lancashire, illustrated by Thomas Allen. So perhaps she wasn't a paragon to her fiancé. On the night she abruptly left her sister's house in Bridge Street, she and John Holroyd, who was an accoucheur, he was a male midwife. Oh my God, that would have been an unusual profession, wouldn't it, in those times? A male midwife, a man midwife at Manchester's Lying In Hospital. Gosh, it's very interesting all that. My dad, he loved all the history of Manchester. He really did. Yeah, maybe I need to do more videos about that. But anyway, they apparently had argued bitterly at the Robinson family home, and one of Lavinia's brothers overheard part of her quarrel. Holroyd said, "All's ready, all's prepared." And Lavinia said, "No, don't. It's shameful. You shan't." Lavinia's sister, Esther, having a cold, had gone to bed early, but at 2 a.m. was startled awake as if by a loud noise. She could find nothing amiss and went back to sleep, but at 3:45 she got up to prepare for the chimney sweeps, who were coming early in the morning. She noticed that the front door was unlocked, and a short time later she discovered that Lavinia was not in the house. A note was found saying, "With my last dying breath, I attest myself innocent of the crime laid to my charge. God bless you all. I cannot outlive his suspicion." So it seems like she did leave a note. Wow. Now, this reminds me a little bit of Micah Miller, and sometimes, although people take their own lives, sometimes they are driven to it, aren't they? Like if he was threatening to expose her in some way, remember with Micah, bloody J.P. Miller, he was threatening to do all sorts to Micah, and he had done for years. And of course, in these times, the shame, can you imagine if somebody was going to expose you for something, would be so much worse than now, wouldn't it? If your partner now is, I don't know, going to say that you'd had an affair, or you'd done this or you'd done that, or even expose photos of you, it would be awful, but it wouldn't be as bad as it would have been 200 years ago. With the, it would be just completely a terrible thing, wouldn't it? In those days. So a few hours after Lavinia was missed, Esther sent for Holroyd, who lived almost opposite the Robinsons' house, and asked him if he knew where Lavinia was. "Good God, is she not here?" he replied. He told Esther that he and Lavinia had had a very serious quarrel the previous night, and he had left the house just before 12. Later that day, Lavinia's brother-in-law, James Bentley, a cotton manufacturer married to her sister Frances, called on him. Bentley: "Well, Mr. Holroyd, what is this business of Lavinia?" And Holroyd said, "Indeed, sir, I cannot tell. I am miserable. I can't tell what to do." Bentley said, "Esther mentioned a quarrel you had. I should be glad to know the particulars and what you fell out about." And Holroyd said, "Why, Mr. Bentley, all delicacy in this business must now be laid aside." And he said, "I discovered blank, blank, blank. and the exact details of Holroyd's accusations were not published in the newspaper, but later in the inquest on Lavinia's death, he submitted a written account in which he stated he had accused Lavinia of a want of chastity. So do you remember chastity? You know, sometimes women would have to wear chastity belts, which were practically, well, they were padlocks basically, so that they couldn't get up to anything, you know, around their private parts. I don't know how they went to the toilet. I have no idea. But yeah, that's what it was like. So it was called chastity, wasn't it? I ventured upon the desperate alternative of being convinced of her virtue before marriage. On Thursday evening, December the 16th, I discovered with horror my fears were realized. I immediately taxed her with it, in answer to which she asserted her innocence with considerable vehemence. And Bentley said that just now he was more interested in Lavinia's whereabouts than Holroyd's suspicions, but Holroyd said he had nothing more to say, except to remark, rather unnecessarily, that if I marry her, I shall never live long and will always be miserable and unhappy. But he did agree to go to the canal with Bentley to look for her, but they had no success. So Lavinia's family reported her missing at the post office and advertised a reward of 30 guineas, which was probably quite a lot of money, wasn't it, for her return, alive or dead. During their agonising wait, in the midst of a particularly cold winter, the River Irwell froze over. Their hopes may have been raised when a young woman arrived in distress at the home of a magistrate in Thatcham. Thatcham, that's right up near Reading, isn't it? He suspected that she might be Lavinia Robinson, and when questioned, she said she was, but it turned out she was lying. Oh God, so it's like a repeat, isn't it, of things that happen these days? False sightings, people claiming to be someone, but they're not really. It's like, this is like the human condition, isn't it? You know, it's like, it's gone on the same since time immemorial, and it's still going on now. It just sort of changes slightly, doesn't it? But the actual basic premise is the same. That's a newspaper article offering the 100 guineas reward. Anyway, finally, at the beginning of February, the ice on the Irwell began to break up. So yeah, don't forget, I think it's the only time the River Irwell is actually frozen over. And on the 7th of February, Mr. Goodyear, a mill worker, came across Lavinia's body on a sandbank at Arton. She was still in the fawn-coloured gown she was wearing on the night she left her home, a pink and yellow silk handkerchief around her neck. She had lost a shoe, her mantle, and a black beaver hat. Gosh, you know, and then you think, is this going to be the sort of thing people will be reading about Nicola Bulley in 200 years? You know, turning her into some sort of, I don't know how to explain it, like, you know, the Manchester Ophelia. Will she become like the St. Michael's Ophelia? It's very sad, isn't it? Because you don't know what history sort of, you know, in years to come, you know, we won't be there to see it. People will be, you know, like people talk about things that happened 10 years ago and 50 years ago, 100 years ago, and even 200 years ago. Strange, you know, well, I say it's an unresolved mystery. But of course, not according to the inquest. And this is, you know, it always annoys me about Nicola Bulley's inquest that it was found as accidental death. And you know what? If you look at the list on the website, it's not even a narrative verdict. Like, it's not even saying, well, this happened, but on the balance of probability, it just says accidental death. That's it. None of the, you know, none of it could be proven. But that's what it'll go to. So in years to come, when people look at Nicola Bulley's inquest, when we're all gone, even Nicola's family, etc., are gone, they'll just say, oh, it was an accidental death. Even though, really, if you look into it, it was no more certain it was an accidental death than it was certain of being foul play or even self-deletion. There's no proof of any of it. So it should have been an open verdict. I will always say that. Anyway, the next day, a 2-day inquest opened at the Star Inn under the coroner, Nathaniel Milne. One of Lavinia's brothers described hearing snatches of the argument between the lovers. Her sister Esther spoke of being woken suddenly in the middle of the night, and James Bentley detailed his dealings with Holroyd after Lavinia disappeared. Perhaps the most sensational evidence, given what happened to Holroyd afterwards, was from Mr. Barlow, who swore he saw a couple matching the description of Holroyd and Lavinia arguing near the western wall of the New Bailey, a stone's throw from Bridge Street, and that the man struck the woman to the ground. Barlow heard the woman say, "Believe me, but you won't. I don't care if you murder me, if you'll only believe me." To which the man replied, "Who was it? If you don't tell me, I'll never forgive you." And Mr. Ainsworth, the surgeon who performed the autopsy on Lavinia's body, said her right temple had a crack of 2 inches, possibly the result of crushing in the ice, and there was bruising around the neck. Furthermore, there was nothing to shake their conviction that she had passed a strictly unimpeachable and virtuous course of life. That is, she was a virgin, and Holroyd's suspicions were groundless. Holroyd's reputation was in tatters, not helped by the fact that 2 of Lavinia's sisters and 1 of her brothers said on oath they did not believe that the self-deletion note was in her handwriting. A friend of Holroyd said he did not think it was his either, but the damage was done. Holroyd, who declined to give evidence in person but submitted a written statement, left the court before the verdict was returned. He said that Lavinia Robinson was found drowned in the River Irwell, but how or by what means she came into the water of the said river, no evidence thereof appears to the said jurors. Oh, so it was an open verdict. Do you know, this is it. This is what Nicola's should have been. So they called an open verdict, not enough evidence for a murder charge, nor the certainty that Lavinia had committed self-deletion. So with Nicola, there was no evidence that she'd had an accident. There were no scuffs on the bank. Nobody had heard a splash, and nobody had seen anything. You know, those screams were heard. The man in black was seen. All those things taken together, it exactly should have been an open verdict. After Lavinia's body was returned to her home, local feeling against Holroyd intensified. Crowds gathered around his residence, and graffiti was scrawled on the door and walls. Stones were thrown at the windows. A kind of fury seemed to hang on the minds of the lower classes of society. That's us, probably, which threatened most serious consequences to Mr. Holroyd, reported Bell's Weekly Messenger. His employers, the trustees of the Lying In Hospital, were also disgusted at his behaviour and sacked him. Fearful for his safety, he was forced to seek protection at the police office, and later, on their advice, he left town. Wonder what happened to him. Anyway, let's see. So Lavinia's funeral, attended by hundreds, and at which her siblings were said to have been overwhelmed with grief, took place on Tuesday the 8th of February at St John's Church, Manchester. Books of subscription were opened at various places around the city to raise money to defray the expenses of the search and reward. The reward itself became a matter of contention. The Manchester Mercury expressed surprise that something that occurred when scores of people were employed to break up the ice, and which caused him, Goodyear, who had found Lavinia's body, no personal expense, could feel that he deserves it. Oh my God, that's like a GoFundMe, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? There's nothing new under the sun, is it? Things change, but that's like almost the equivalent of a GoFundMe. Everyone moaning about it, like why do they deserve that money? Uh, it's ironic, really, isn't it? How you can draw parallels to something that happened 200 years ago. So Goodyear gave the 30 guineas back to Lavinia's sisters, but he kept the 70 guineas put up by the city authorities. In the following month, there were rumours that Holroyd had deleted himself in Stafford, but this was a case of mistaken identity, and he was later said to be working as a surgeon in his native village. A surgeon, oh God. Well, of course, is that surgeon at, the Tepe murders over in the United States. He's a surgeon, isn't he? Monique's ex-husband. I mean, I'm not saying this guy murdered poor Lavinia. Maybe he didn't. Or maybe, it was just him being so nasty to her. I mean, that's just murder in slow motion, isn't it? If you're nasty enough to someone, like he was to her, or like John Paul Miller or whatever, a giant prick pastor or something. If you're nasty enough to someone, sensitive souls like Micah, you can drive them to, I think Micah had tried to escape from John Paul, from J.P. Miller. What we mustn't forget about Micah is as well, she had been groomed by him since she was 14 years old. And then in the end, she'd married him, and but there were, their relationship was such a mess. He's such a horrible man. I need to do an update on that case because, of course, he has been charged now with cyber stalking and things like that of Micah. But anyway. So he was later said to be working as surgeon in his native village of Middleston near Thornhill in Yorkshire. And the inscription on Lavinia's gravestone included the following lines: more lasting than in lines of art, thy spotless characters impressed, thy worth engraved on every heart, thy loss bewailed in every breast. And in time, Lavinia became mythologized as the Manchester Ophelia. So 9 weeks it took to find her. Again, found by somebody who worked on the river. It's quite often these poor people like Riley Strain, the two twins who went missing in, was it Edinburgh or Aberdeen? The two twins, Eastern European twins. And the police search for them, and then quite often these poor people are found not by the police or people who are there specially to find them, but by workers, or because it's so difficult to find people in the river. So it seems like, poor Lavinia, she'd been frozen under the ice. There don't seem to be any actual pictures of her. When I was looking for some, I suppose, did they have photos then? Hey, hi, Jean. Haven't said that for ages. Hi, Jean. Oh, I hope you're well as well. Yeah, I've missed you. I think we all probably have because, anyway, life gets in the way. I know that. I hope you're well. I hope everything's okay. And, if you want to drop me an email, let me know what you've been up to. Please go ahead. I don't want to single you out on that. But yeah, it's lovely to see you. It's lovely to say hi, Jean, again. So yeah, it's I haven't been able to find a photo of this lady. Well, it has been 200 years. Um, but what do you think? It's like there's nothing new under the sun, is it? An argument with her boyfriend. Did she take herself off to take her own life, or has he had something to do with it? So it turns out at the inquest, somebody reckoned they'd seen them arguing. I think one of the easiest ways, maybe, of killing somebody is to push them in water, isn't it? Or hold them down in water. Makes everything so much more difficult, doesn't it? To it makes everything so much more difficult to the autopsy is more difficult. We saw that again with Nicola's autopsy. I mean, Nicola had bruises on her. This lady, Lavinia, um, she had, what did they say, a fracture or something? But they said it might have been from the ice, or was it from someone hitting her? Cracking her over the head with something. What I'll tell you what we need now. I mean, I'm not being facetious. I mean it honestly. Could do with Jason to try and get in touch with Lavinia and see if he can get any more insight into what actually happened with her. Now, it may well be that she took her own life because in those days, to be accused of, uh, you know, being a bit of a loose woman, a bit of a floozy or whatever, would be a terrible thing, wouldn't it? And if that horrible fiance of hers was threatening to say that she was, all those things, it may be that she couldn't stand the shame of it. But of course, it's also possible that he did do it to her. And then, ironically, as we've just read, it turned out that she, according to the autopsy, which of course would have been basic in those days, it's hard enough now to sometimes to ascertain causes of death, etc., with all the state of the art technology that we've got now. So it would have been very difficult then, though apparently it had helped that she'd been in the river frozen, that had kept her body preserved. So once she thawed out, probably she was pretty much intact. And of course, as we saw earlier, the inquest showed that she actually was still a virgin. So it was wrong what he'd said, wherever he'd got his information from. Her, glad to hear you getting there, Jean. Yeah, I think the planets have been all unaligned these last couple of months. I mean, January's been absolute shit, hasn't it? But anyway, we're all looking forward to February, aren't we? But yeah, so yeah, she was still a virgin. So whatever he'd been accusing her of, it wasn't true. I wonder what it was like in those days. It's bad enough now, isn't it, when people, I don't know, rumours, gossip goes round. Sometimes it's difficult to stop gossip once it starts. I mean, it's easier now because, of course, if you were, if you wanted to, you can go on Facebook and put the record straight, or make a video and put the record straight. You can put your side of things forward. That's what I think is good about what Jason Rothwell has done. The best way to get your story heard without anybody twisting it is not to go on other people's channels or other people's blogs, etc., or even the BBC documentary that he's said they recorded him for 5 hours and they only included 60 seconds or whatever. You need to be in control of what you're saying when it's important things. And I think what Jason has done, in my opinion, he's put out what he says happened, and he's done it. It's his words, and we've listened to his words, and then people make their own mind up. Because sometimes, sometimes it doesn't matter what you say, people won't believe you. Not everybody will like you. That's something I've learned on YouTube. You can't please all the people all the time. Some people will think you're great. Some people will think you're the worst YouTuber in the world. Then other people, they might think you're great until suddenly you don't agree with something they say, or they don't agree with what you say, and then suddenly they hate you. That's another thing that happens. So I'm not here. I want people to watch my channel. Of course I do. But do you know what I've realised is I've just got to speak my truth, whether it's popular or not. You can go with the wind on YouTube. You can see, that's what I've noticed a few true crimers doing. They put out polls. What do you think of this? And then when they find out what people think of it, that's how they aim their influencing or their videos. I don't do that. Maybe I'm too opinionated. I probably am too opinionated, but I'm probably not going to change now at this late age. I do have strong opinions, but I think I do respect other people's opinions. But I will say when I don't agree with them, and sometimes people don't like that. But do you know what? That's just the way I am. I say I don't think I'm going to change now. Um, I'm not as opinionated as I was when I was young. Just believe it or not. Because when you're young, you really do think you're right with everything, don't you? When you're 19, 20, you know everything. It's like everything's black and white, isn't it? This is wrong, that's right, blah, 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 blah. And then as you get older, everything becomes grey, doesn't it? Because you realise that life's not as straightforward as you thought it was maybe when you were 18, 19, as far as dealing with other people is concerned, or just what you think is right, what you think is wrong. There's a lot of grey areas in life, more grey areas than black and white, actually, aren't they? I think. We learn to sort of, I don't know, we have to make compromises. We have to make compromises in life. Because we're not right all the time, are we? Even though we might even think we're right. It's quite a shock, is it? So I found that when I moved from Manchester, because of course people are different depending on the way where they live and their culture, their language. So moving from probably if I would have stayed in Manchester, maybe I would have kept my same opinions, whatever I had then. And then moving to Reading, and then moving to Spain. And while I've been in Spain, that's when I've met so many different people from so many different cultures. My students, I've had like over 20 different nationalities come to me for classes. Eastern European, Russian, Swedish, Icelandic, American, um, French, German, you name it, the national. I'll sit down and work it out one day. Lithuanian, Latvian, Russian, Ukrainian, all these different people that I would never have met if I would have just stayed in Manchester, and basically people are the same. But having said that, we are shaped by our culture, aren't we? And it's interesting if you've got an interest in, everybody's got something nice in their culture, and then there'll always be things you don't agree with in their culture. So yeah, I mean, even just in the UK, you've got Scottish, Welsh, Irish, English, And then even if you just took the English, you've got the north and the south. You've got the north and the south divide, and people are different in the south than they are in the north. And then so we're all snowflakes. That I haven't said that for a while, but we are all snowflakes. We're all completely unique, aren't we, with our own makeup, but there are some things that have never changed, like poor ladies like Lavinia being found deceased in water, and I don't know, coercive control that has existed forever, but has only just been named recently, hasn't it? When this is like only 10 years ago, maybe. Same with the word narcissist and things like that. These things weren't talked about not that long ago, and now suddenly they are being talked about. So it's good. I mean, it's good in a way. Sometimes I don't know if we talk about so many things that. Does it stop people just getting on with life, and just it's like I don't think in human society we've ever talked as much as we do now, like openly about mental health and stuff like that. But I don't know if people are happier because of it, and that worries me, because sometimes I think we know too much about all everything that it sort of depresses us. But I don't know what the answer is. It's good to talk, of course it is, but sometimes you've got to be careful not to wallow in sadness or depression. No, it's not as easy as that. You can't just snap yourself out of it. But as I say, I just don't know what the answer is. I literally don't know what the answer is. Um, all we can do is live, can't we? While we're still, what do they say? If you want to know if your mission in life is over, if you're still alive, it isn't. We're here for a reason. We just have to carry on, don't we? I know a lot of you out there, for whatever reasons, from messages that I get, etc., are struggling one way or another. Well, life is a struggle. Oh, that was the other thing I was. So I'm waffling now. Sorry about that, but I like a waffle. But when I was driving back from taking my son to work earlier, and it's a beautiful drive. It's a bloody long drive. I've got to do 2 hours driving every day to take him to work, bring him back twice a day. Um, but it's beautiful, beautiful drive, to be fair. So I appreciate it. But I was thinking about it, and I've thought I may have mentioned it before on stream, and I've always thought it. I do feel like I can see correlations with life with PlayStation games. Because if you've ever played on a PlayStation, like level up games, sometimes you get to a point where you're not getting anywhere with that particular life that you normally get so many lives, don't you? And you're not getting anywhere. You've gone the wrong way, or you've, I don't know, just got stuck, and you think, oh, I should have gone that other way, and you can just throw yourself off a cliff in the PlayStation game. I mean, so that you die and go back to the beginning again. And sometimes I think life's a bit like that, isn't it? People can't cope sometimes with life, so they, cut their life short for whatever reason. But I honestly believe that you have to come back and do it again. I do think that. I think that if you do that, I don't think anything terrible happens to you or whatever. But I think this is for whatever reason you're supposed to do what you're supposed to do, and if you give up because things overwhelm you or whatever, I really think you have to come back and do it again. That's how it feels to me. Are you then reborn? It's like, oh no, you don't get out of it like that easy. You can just imagine God saying to you, no, you've got to go back, do it again. Do you think that's a feasible theory? I don't know, but oh, bless Angel, you're only going backwards. Yeah. Well, at least you're getting up every day and putting one foot in front of the other. That is the most important thing. You've got to live in the moment. Honestly, I had yesterday just an awful day, really. And some days you do just have awful days, and you sort of lose hope a bit, don't you? That anything's ever going to get any better, and then things do get better. You just have to. Do you know what I do? I use YouTube a lot now for sort of listening to what's the word? Listening to podcasts like positivity podcasts and prayers and things, but yeah, the thing about prayers is it depends if you believe, you have to find your own way. But some of the things that are on there, the podcast for positivity and mindfulness and taking one day at a time, they're not always like religious things. They're not all, they're quite often they're just spiritual things. So I listen to sort of a combination of all of them, but it does make me feel better. And I've not been sleeping well, because I've been worrying about things and not sleeping. So I put these podcasts on, and I like to hear the voice in my ear. And I eventually drift off to sleep. Um, but yeah, you have to try and find whichever way you can to take your mind off. Sometimes helping other people helps you, doesn't it? Hi, Tracy. Sometimes helping other people helps you, takes your mind off it, take the dog for a walk, get out in the country. Those things can all help, can't they? Eat something nice, drink something nice. Um, how can I expect? Yeah, sometimes you do. There are days that you do just have to get through. Especially if it's a day that's, I don't know, an anniversary of something awful that's happened or whatever. You do have to get through some days. And then other days are better. So we always have to remember that there's always, after the darkness is always the dawn, isn't it? So, a cinnamon bun for breakfast. Well, there you go. I don't like cinnamon buns, but that's a nice little bit of pleasure in the morning, isn't it? I haven't had any breakfast anyway. I'm going to have some noodles now, probably with chicken nuggets. I know that sounds ridiculous. To be honest, I'd just eat anything at the moment. I'm so hungry. Okay, so yeah, I wanted to tell you about Lavinia and a story that is, as I say, as old as time, isn't it? There's a poor woman there 200 years ago. Now, but it's an enduring mystery. Did she just decide to take her own life because she couldn't live with the shame that she thought was coming to her? Or did her fiancé have something to do with it, as many people think? Well, we'll never know, I suppose, unless someone like Jason, I suppose, gets chatting to her in the other world. Maybe I should have a go. I don't know, but you know, things don't change, do they? People are the same through generations, aren't they? Our situations change, the way we live, our jobs, but really, I think our basic human nature uh, doesn't change. There are certain traits that we have. An interest in true crime as well, as I say. I think that's been always. It's just now, of course, it's more magnified. The internet has made things more intense, everything, hasn't it? But I think it still existed even all those years ago. So. Okay, well, I've really enjoyed chatting with you guys. I'm glad I ended up getting to do the live in the end. I do enjoy doing the lives, but it just seems like there's always some disaster. And with this bloody computer, but anyway, it'll get sorted. It'll get sorted before long. It's not forever. So thank you for watching. Thank you for all your support, whether it be from just liking, subscribing, emails, messages. Yeah, just watching my videos is a support. And a special thanks to those of you who go that little bit further to help me out. Thank you. Okay, I'll see you really soon in the next video. Enjoy your Sunday. I don't think I'll be back again today. But you know what? You never know. But the first thing I've got to do is eat some food. Oh, thank you, Angel. So, yeah. Sorry, I'm reading the chat. I get distracted when I read the chat, don't I? Thank you so much. See you really soon in the next video. And until then, may your God go with you. Bye.